him for with very, very short notice, putting together a very nice tea on the table. This is not what we did a couple of times in the fall, where we all bought cookies from the store and poured cider. This is a real one. So, and thanks to the people who brought food, Charlene, Bev, and I, and Louise, threw in a few goodies. So, and I would also like to thank Connie, around the corner there, Connie Shalley, for providing our centerpiece for today. She'd like to say something, which I will call on her after I finish here. I've got a couple of announcements. This is not going to last a long time. But your club, even though we haven't been meeting, has been very, very busy. We have applied for a CPA. Can't even think of it now. Community Preservation Act. Community Preservation Act grant for $135,000. And if we get it, we will repair the outside of the house, put a roof on, a couple other things, and paint the house. I want to really, really, really thank Dottie and Catherine and LJ, and I'm going to mess up your last name. Right? LJ. LJ for everybody. Dottie and LJ really worked and put this together. They researched the grant, they attended meetings, they talked to innumerable people in the city and not city offices, and then they filled out the form and they submitted the form for the grant. All of this hard work hopefully will pay off when the town council meets 2 weeks from now on the 21st of March. We will know then if and how much we receive. The Ways and Means Committee has also been working very hard. First up is the flower show. You've all heard about that so far today, so please, it's in 2 weeks. Let Zenaida know what you're bringing. We'll be here from 4 to 6 on Friday, our normal routine to accept whatever donations you have and get them set, and then get them priced, and then get them put out for Saturday, 10 to 2. There will be a refreshment table, so you can also sign up to bring food goodies. We would love to have some food goodies also. We also need some help in the kitchen, if you would rather do that than help with the flower show itself. This year, there are ads coming out in the Gazette and in the Bulletin advertising the flower show. This is the first year we've done that. Thanks to Charlene for doing that. They're designing the ad as we speak. We're hoping for a really big turnout and a nice day. We also have scheduled a wine tasting for Saturday night, April 9th. And we have a quilt that we will have a raffle. The tickets will be available after we get past the chaos of the flower show. And we will draw the winner of that raffle at our spring luncheon, which is going to be April the 18th. April the 18th, spring luncheon and annual meeting. Now, don't remember about remembering these dates except for the flower show. Okay? Got to remember the flower show. I'll be writing you emails and we'll have all of these dates down then. So, Connie, you wanted to say a few words, and then I will introduce Charlene, who will introduce our speaker.
Okay.
Now, just stay where you are. You don't have to stand. I'll try to
reach everybody. Since this week is International Women's Week, and this day is International Women's Day, my daughter was a hard Women's Day person. One of my daughters. And she made a display for us get a chance to see. First of all, the flowers are white, purple, and green, which are the colors of that organization. The little marbles all around, that's also lighting up. And then there are 6 women from around the world who have been designated as top people. And you can learn about them. And I put my personal desire, and that was Eleanor Roosevelt. So I found it was fun watching her make this very professional looking thing and not having to do it myself. But I thought it was perfect for us today. International Women's Day.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you very much. From the centerpiece and everything else. Charlie, all yours. Okay. Somehow, when we went around and mentioned all of the individuals who are here today, and you gave your names and took your masks down, we missed Barbara Elliman over here on the bench. And Barbara is a member of the programming committee, and she's the one who suggested Ellen, because Barbara is an ardent member, friend, volunteer at the Eric Carle Museum. So hold down your mask, Barbara. Barbara Elliman. Ellen Kiter is the chief curator of the Eric Carle Museum of Picture Book Art, where she has worked for 7 years. Previously, she served as curator and director of exhibitions at the Katona Museum of Art in Katona, New York for 15 years, and curator of exhibitions at the Hudson River Museum in Yonkers, New York for 6 years. In addition to numerous exhibitions on picture book art, Ellen has curated shows on contemporary art, regional history, and has managed several public art installations. In Amherst, she volunteers her time as a member of the Public Art Commission, the Dog Park Task Force, and the Public Shade Tree Committee. A busy lady. Let's welcome.
I'm wondering, is it better probably if I stand so you can all see me? Okay. So I want to see you too. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Charlene. I'm very happy to be here today at the Amherst Women's Club, of course, during Women's History Month. Perfect timing. This is my first time in the building, and I'm very impressed. It's just beautiful. As Charlene mentioned, I have been the chief curator at the Eric Carle Museum for the past 7 years, and one of the questions, probably the question I get asked the most, is how do I decide what exhibitions and artists to display? And it's never a quick answer. It's quite complicated. So I've really broken down my talk into this subject, how exhibition decisions are made. And by the end of my presentation, I hope your 3 takeaways will be that exhibition planning is complex, exhibitions are expensive, and exhibitions do not happen overnight. So we typically need 2 to 3 years of time to plan a loan exhibition, and a loan exhibition is a show in which we're borrowing the majority of the art, either from artists, collectors, or other institutions. And then we need 9 months to 2 years to plan a collection show. And we need that shorter lead time because the work is already in the museum's collection, it's in our vault, it's on site. But it's still, collection shows still require a lot of preparation and research, photography, matting, framing, all of those good things. So I'm going to explore 3 primary areas of decision-making: cost, content, and logistics. And I've organized this presentation into what I call the top 25 questions we ask ourselves when deciding on an exhibition. And I say we because I do not make these decisions alone. I work very closely with our executive director, Alex Kennedy, and with our director of education, Courtney Wary. So first up is cost. What is the cost of creating and shipping the art? So creating and shipping is by far the most expensive part of planning an exhibition. This is partly why we love collection shows. Depending on the size and weight of a crate, it can cost easily upwards of $1,000 or more, and that number quadruples once you have to have a crate rated for international travel. Because crating is so expensive, we do our best to save as many crates as we can, and our exhibition partners really appreciate this because it's much cheaper to retrofit a crate than it is to construct a new one. If you go back into our collections offices at the Carl, it is a maze of crates. We've also rented an off-site storage unit in Belchertown that takes where we keep a lot of our crates. Shipping is likewise very expensive. We use fine art shippers who are professionals trained in the proper care and handling of art. And they drive special trucks that are climate controlled and have really great suspensions, keep everything very stable. And just to give you a sense of shipping costs, 2 years ago, we shipped an exhibition from the High Museum in Atlanta. We brought it up here to Amherst, and it cost over $10,000. And that was just one-way shipping on the East Coast. So you can imagine if we're going to California or Seattle, Chicago, the numbers start adding up very quickly. With shipping, yes. With shipping, we also have to consider lender requirements. So many museums and even private lenders will require a courier. And a courier is someone who is hired to sort of transport the art or travel with the art to ensure its safety. So we have to pay for their transportation, their lodging, their food, a per diem. So all of these things add up very quickly. And I'm fortunate to have a really great team of registrars that we work with at the museum to help us sort of navigate all of these different considerations. So what is the cost of framing and installation? If you've been to the Carl, you will probably recognize our standard frames, which are wood maple frames, the light color wood. And we use these because those are the frames that Eric Carl prefers to show his art. We always show his art in those frames. Since we're 20 years old this year, we have a great inventory now of these maple frames, and again, we use them as much as we can. But certain exhibitions really call for a different frame. For example, our exhibition on graphic novels, I really wanted black frames for that to sort of replicate the look of a page of graphic novel or comic. And other times it's the artist that dictates what our frame considerations are. So Myra Coleman, for example, we did her exhibition in 2019. She was very specific about the type of frame and how her art was displayed in the frame. She didn't want it matted, she wanted it floated. So again, we're always wanting to accommodate what makes the art look its best, but these are, again, cost considerations. I should mention, you see Mark, our preparator there on the left. He is our in-house preparator, and we do all our matting and framing on site at the museum. I love this picture on the right. You can see us loading Godzilla into the museum because not only do we mat and frame the art, but if you've been to the Carl lately, you'll notice that we have lots of graphics, lots of design elements. We purchase new furniture, oftentimes for exhibits, rugs. We have to repaint the gallery every time, buy new books. So all of these things are part of our cost consideration. When an exhibition is over, we'll very often reuse furniture, or we'll sell it on Craigslist or Facebook, a marketplace. So does the artwork require conservation? I hope the people in the back can see this, but this is Eric Carl's original brown bear collage illustration from 1967. And when we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the book, we pulled the art out, and you can see from the image on the left, poor brown bear had lost his eyeballs and some of his claws. And this is because Eric Carl at this time was using rubber cement for his collages, and rubber cement, if you've ever used it and held on to something with it, it loses its tactile properties with time. So these little small elements had fallen off, and of course, we needed this bear to be in our exhibition. So we joked, we sent him to the spa, which is the Williamstown Art Conservation Center in Williamstown, Massachusetts. They're a really premier national facility for restoration and conservation. And we're very fortunate that they are not too far away, and it's a beautiful drive. So I drove Brown Bear up there, got him all beautiful, as you can see on the right. And he was prominently displayed in our exhibition. Do we need to hire a guest curator? I do not curate all the exhibitions at the Carl. We mount 6 exhibitions a year at the museum, and then anywhere from 2 to 6 traveling exhibitions a year. So this would be physically impossible for me to do all of this. So we very often invite guest curators to organize a show for us, and I love having guest curators. They bring in new voices, new knowledge, different skill sets, scholarship. This is Jane Curley, who curated our Eloise exhibition, as you can see there. She also did our Madeline exhibition and our Myra Coleman show. But it's really wonderful to have this stable of curators I can call upon when I don't know a subject really well. I know there are people out there who do. And within the past few years, I've actually been inviting picture book artists to start curating exhibitions. And that's been a wonderful collaboration. I've really enjoyed that. And they bring a very strong artistic sense. And so it's fun to design exhibitions with them. But I put this under cost because, of course, these individuals dedicate a lot of time and energy and need to be compensated. Will we publish a catalog or commission an online essay? So sadly, we are slowly transitioning away from printed catalogs. And this is really a cost and work saving consideration. It costs approximately $13,000 to $15,000 to do one of our exhibition catalogs. And in 20 years, we've never made that money back from sales. So we do have a beautiful library of our past exhibitions, but we are really moving a lot more of our content online now. We will still occasionally do catalogs, but it'll be the exception rather than the rule. I'm really hoping to get a grant for our 25th anniversary to do a large coffee table book of our collection. So it'll be more like for special events and things like that. But we launched a new website in July, and it's really robust and has a lot more opportunities to include content and images, and we can embed videos. So it really creates a much richer way to give this information across. And it's also an issue of accessibility because now people can access this content online anywhere in the world at no cost. Is there a loan fee, and can we afford it? So there are exhibitions that you can rent. We like to say borrow, but you're essentially renting them. You're paying a fee. Participation fee can be anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000, and that does not even include shipping or installation costs, which are additional. So this is an example of an exhibition that we borrowed. It's our Coretta Scott King Illustrator Award exhibition that was organized by the National Center for Children's Illustrated Literature in Abilene, Texas. Another cost consideration is there a sponsor? So our most frequent sponsors are publishers. And we're very grateful when a publisher can sponsor an exhibition. It can help defray the cost up to 20%. I know you can't read it here, but in the last paragraph there on the intro wall, we acknowledge Macmillan's Children's Publishing Group because they help to support our Peter Cease exhibition. And finally, will the exhibition benefit our bookshop? So the kind of questions we ask ourselves is, does this artist have a large inventory of in-print books that we can sell? If this artist is alive, can they come to the museum and do a program or do a book signing? Can our bookshop manager work with the artist or the family to create exclusive merchandise? So again, our bookshop, if you've ever been, is wonderful, and it's just a wonderful part of our museum, but it's also an important financial part of our museum. So now we're going to move on to content. So is the artist or theme a draw for visitors? And I know admitting that I asked that question sounds a little bit like pandering to public taste, but the fact of the matter is we need and want people to come through our doors and see our exhibitions. On the left is Make Way for Ducklings, which was our Robert McCloskey show that we mounted in 2017, which still remains our most well-attended exhibition in the museum's history. And on the right is a David Wiesner retrospective. David Wiesner's won 3 Caldecott medals and 3 Caldecott honors, so there's certainly a lot of name recognition with him as well. So is the exhibition something that will interest other museums to travel? This is the Eric Carle show, Moonlight Nights and Other Illustrations, that we sent to the Chrysler Museum in Norfolk, Virginia in 2019. And this type of outreach is really important to our mission. And honestly, traveling exhibitions are very important to our financial health as well. As I mentioned, we can do between 2 and 6 traveling exhibitions a year. Today is actually an interesting day because we have right now currently 2 exhibitions in Japan, 1 in North Carolina, and 1 that should have just shipped out by now, heading to New York City. That's opening later this month. So these are all, in addition to everything we juggle at the Carle here in Amherst, we're also juggling a lot of partners in other places. And we do travel our exhibitions both domestically and internationally. Oh, I must have got an email, sorry. And another really important part about traveling exhibitions is that it really expands our audience. So every year consistently, we average about 50,000 visitors a year in Amherst. But for example, our Eric Carle show that we sent to the Frisk Museum in Nashville, we had 360,000 visitors to that show. So a lot more people are getting access to the art, people who can't come here to Amherst. So that's really important to us as well. And we've developed really lovely partnerships with different museums. We've done 5 exhibitions with the High Museum in Atlanta, and the show that's shipping out today is going to the New York Historical Society, and that'll be our 4th exhibition with them. Has the artist or collector given work to the museum, or are we hoping that they will? So on the left here, you see our exhibition, 80 Years of Caldecott Books. And on the right is another exhibition in the same space called A Friend Among Us, The Art of Brinton Turkle. Sometimes it's really important to a donor that we organize an exhibition of their gift. And in fact, it can become part of the negotiation process to get the art to come to the museum. It's really meaningful for our family to see an exhibition of their loved one's work. Other times it works in reverse. So for example, actually our Caldecott exhibition, Barbara Elliman lent her very rare Caldecott book collection for presentation. And afterwards, she very generously donated all the books to the museum. So yay, Barbara. So I jumped out of the galleries just for a minute because I wanted to show you what we're doing now in our reading library. We can't show original art in our reading library because it's filled with windows and natural light, which is the enemy of work on paper. But we have developed, and it actually happened right when the pandemic started, we developed a new presentation format. So we're doing book exhibitions in the reading library now. And this was the first one we did. It's called Black Voices, Picture Books as Anti-Racist Resources. And this really grew out of all of the Black Lives Matter protests of summer of 2020. And because exhibitions take so long to develop and implement, we can't easily respond to current events. So the reading library gives us this opportunity to do that. And our educators were able to put this exhibition together in just a few weeks. And it was a really important exhibition, and we felt that we needed to respond to what was happening in our world and be supportive. This is a little sneak peek of a show that's opening next month. Is this an artist or theme we feel deserves more attention? This is a painting by Nora Woodson Ulrich, who was a very well-regarded American illustrator in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. But she died young in 1950 and has not had an exhibition since. So 70 years later, we are going to reintroduce her to the public at the Carl. The exhibition opens on April 16th. And it's very important to us that, especially with women illustrators, there are so many early 20th century women illustrators who were professionally trained, very talented, highly prolific, but who remain unknown. Their names never made it into the history book. So when we can present somebody that we believe deserves the attention, we will certainly do that. And this is the title wall, so you can see a little bit of how we design our exhibitions. We do a lot on the computer, figuring out type size and fonts and colors. Is this an exhibition that can highlight our collection? As I mentioned, we have a large collection at the Carl. We care for over 12,000 works of art on site. But it's really important to us that we share our collection. We are caretakers of the art. We hold the art in public trust. And it's really an invaluable resource, not just for us, but for future generations. And this is an important consideration for donors because they know that if they donate work to the Carl, not only will it be professionally cared for in perpetuity, we will also have chances to exhibit it. If you donate to libraries, for example, a lot of picture book art goes to town or university libraries. They don't have the facilities to exhibit it like we do. So if we are doing a collection show, this is from our 15th anniversary, can we show a diverse range of artists? And right now, unfortunately, that answer is no. We know that the majority of our collection represents white male artists. And really this reflects the history of the male-dominated publishing industry. But I'm happy to say that in October, we started a diversity audit. We hired a consultant to help us with that so that we can better understand our collection and understand where we're falling short. And the audit will provide accurate data for us so that we can make progress and diversify very thoughtfully. The board has been incredibly supportive of this. The collections committee has pledged money so that whatever art we buy, the museum buys, is by either a woman or an artist of color. And several trustees have donated money earmarked specifically for that. Can this exhibition attract new audiences to the museum? So this was our out-of-the-box graphic novel come of age exhibition. And it was a really wonderful show for us because it helps bring in that ever elusive tween and teenager audience that we don't often see. Is there a lot of digital work? And if so, can we create an exciting exhibition? So this is a very challenging issue for me personally. I first encountered this in 2017 with this exhibition, What's Your Favorite Color? That had a fair amount of digital art. And, you know, I was very stumped how to present it. So we really kind of upped the design and engagement in the gallery for people. One good thing is it does allow us to talk about foreign digital art. As you can see in the case on the right, we were trying to explain how the artist combines or scans different shapes and colors and patterns to create the one that ends up in the book. It's something I'm struggling with. I wonder what the museum will look like in 5 or 10 years because more and more artists are working digitally. So this is, I don't have an answer. It's a rhetorical question, I suppose, but it is something I am thinking about. And we actually did just recently collect our first piece of foreign digital art. So it is something that is going to come into our collection as well. So who is the curator and what is their authority on the topic? The gentleman on the right there is Leonard Marcus, who's sort of the foremost historian and authority on children's literature. He's also a board member. And here he's just leading an artist panel from the graphic novels show. But Leonard, of course, is pretty much the authority on anything kid lit. So he's curated several exhibitions for us. And when we bring in a guest curator like Leonard or Jane, they are selecting the work and writing the labels and the content, but I'm still very much involved, you know, every step of the way. And we handle all the logistics, the loan agreements and the contracts. We make the shipping arrangements. We do photography, matting, framing, installation, and all of that. So are we excited about the programmatic or collaborative opportunities? So are there opportunities to bring the artist to the museum, or can a curator give a tour to the public? Can we do a book signing? We love to partner with local organizations as well. So some of our recent partners have been the Benesky Museum at Amherst College, Center Dance. We do a Friday dance program with them. They're just right up the street. Magic Wings in South Deerfield. So whenever we have the opportunity to collaborate, Hitchcock Center is another one. We love to do that. So our final category is logistics. So is the art available for us to borrow? So that's really one of the very first questions. Where is the art? How do I find the art? It's a real detective game, and I've gone down many dead ends. Sometimes I just can't find, I want to do a show, but I cannot find the art. Other times, you may find the art, and then you will get involved in very complicated family dynamics. And that can make things very difficult or even prevent the opportunity to show the art. So, you know, there's a lot that needs to be worked out. But I chose these two just as examples of loan exhibitions. So the exhibition on the left is our Paddington Bear exhibition. We borrowed all the art for that, but we had to borrow art from 6 different private lenders in England and have it shipped over. And then the Lewis Darling show on the right, he illustrated all of Beverly Cleary's early books. But all of that art is housed at the Curlin collection at the University of Minnesota. So, so multi-lender show versus single lender show. So is this an exhibition that needs to fall within a certain time frame? I mentioned Brown Bear anniversary. 2 years later, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which is arguably Eric's most well-known book. But it had to fall in 2019. You can't do a 50-year anniversary in a different year. So we got to plan ahead for things like that. And this year, I think I mentioned before, is our 20th anniversary of the Carl. So in June, I will be opening an exhibition on collage, inspired by Eric's love of collage. It will feature 20 artists for 20 years. And I'm really proud. I think it's going to be a really fabulous show. It will be artists like Eric Carl, Leo Leone, Ezra Jack Keats. You know, we got the Snowy Day, Lois Ehlert, up to very young contemporary artists working in collage. It'll be beautiful, so I hope you all get a chance to visit. Does the artist or theme complement what is in the other 2 galleries? So we have 3 galleries at the Carl, so I put these 3 up. These 3 shows were up concurrently. We have Eric Carl on the left, the Central Gallery, which was a group thematic exhibition, and in the East Gallery, we had our Myra Coleman show. And this really was a nice balance. So we had 2 solo shows and a group thematic show. But we always have 1 gallery dedicated to Eric. So that's just a given. So we have to carefully think about how to balance that out with the other 2 galleries. You know, we want a mixture of men, women, young, old, solo versus thematic. We want to be sure that we're representing artists of color, women, a variety of media. So all of these things come to play. And we do our best. I will admit right now it's not a great lineup in terms of diversity. We have 3 solo male artist shows. We have Eric Carl, Kadir Nelson, and Ed Emberley. And really, that is not something I planned for, but it's a fallout of the pandemic because the museum was closed for almost 6 months. We closed again in January for Omicron, and it just basically imploded our exhibition schedule. So it's the way that it all kind of worked out. But it's, you know, I realize it, and we work hard not to usually have it the way that it currently is featuring just male artists. Do we have time to plan the exhibition? So as I mentioned, if it's a collection show, we can do those relatively quickly. But if it is a group exhibition like Pictures of a Dream, which is our civil rights exhibition, that takes much longer. We have 45 individual lenders to that show, each of which I have to communicate with and do a loan contract with. We had to ship the art from all over the country, plus we had 2 international loans. So again, it's a huge amount of coordination, and that's why it takes so long to get it all pulled together. So if we do a collection show like this one, Illustrated Owls, we have to think about the light exposure for the artwork. So 99% of what we show at the Carl is fragile works on paper, and they're very susceptible to, to fading. And so we have very strict guidelines that we maintain about light exposure. So our sort of rubric is for every 6 months that a work of art is on view in the public, it then has to rest in our vault for 5 years. If a work of art reaches its 9-month exposure limit, it then has to rest in the vault for 10 years, which means we cannot bring it out to show it again. And this is not, when I say it's resting, it's not actually regenerating or reverting back to its original look. It's really just a way to prolong the life of that artwork as long as possible. So yes, many people come like, where's Eric? 1969, very hungry caterpillar. And we have to explain, we cannot keep that on, it would have disintegrated by now. Like, we just cannot expose it to that much light. If you've been to the Carl, you know that our galleries are kept at a very low light level. We keep it at 5-foot candles. It's the museum term. But that's all to protect the light. We use UV glass, and we have now converted all our galleries to LED lights. So that is also helpful. But again, as the caretakers of the art and to make sure people many years from now can enjoy it, we have to abide by some self-imposed guidelines. Is this an exhibition of work by an elderly artist, and do we need to act quickly? So we have organized one-person exhibitions by artists who very sadly passed away before they got to see the exhibition, which is just heartbreaking. I've been working for the past 3 years with Ed Emberley to bring a large selection of his picture book archive to the Carl. And I was very, very happy that I was able to get this show up. And Ed is there on the left. He and his wife, Barbara, are in their 90s, and they came to visit 2 weeks ago. They were just so happy, and it made me so happy that they got to see the exhibition. But when somebody is giving so much of their art, you know, it's really, you want to be able to honor them with the show, and I'm so glad that we were able to do that. My final slide, just a few other installation shots. It's just also to mention that with our 3 galleries, we always stagger when we open and close them, so that we always have 2 galleries on view. So right now we had to close today. We closed our Eric Carl gallery. They closed for 2 weeks, and then we'll open a new show. But we try to stagger that, and we almost never change our exhibitions in the summer because that is actually our busiest time at the museum. So anyway, I hope this was interesting and that you learned something. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you for listening. Yeah, right. Oh, carlmuseum.org, Carl Museum, one word. It's a beautiful new site. It's very responsive for visitors, and our old site was not cell phone responsive, which is really frustrating. So now you can look at it on a laptop, tablet, mobile phone, and it configures itself so that you can just easily get the information. Yes.
Do you have, I mean, when I visited, I'm not quite sure, do you do posters at your exhibit?
We used to.
I was making an argument that is a really important takeaway for a lot of people and for a lot of children. If you're eliminating the catalog of the book, something on paper, yes, besides obviously buying the book of the would be a good thing. And then the question is, in balancing the fragility of paper, do you have artists who recreate or imitate the work? Because certainly when you have younger visitors, their appreciation of what the image was is somewhat different than, let's say, older visitors who want to see the original. But have you done painting or recreations of some of the works of art?
The only, we've done reproductions. So We will take very high-res photographs of the original work of art, and we will show that occasionally. We sell those as sort of posters, limited edition posters in our shop. But if I have an exhibition that, say, I have to have the Very Hungry Caterpillar in, we'll make a high quality, we call it a G-clay. And when Eric saw it, he literally like rubbed his hand over it to make sure he couldn't believe the quality is so good. You know, he was trying to feel for the collage. So we will do that. Ed Emberly worked a lot in magic marker, which is really faded. So I will confess that there are a few pieces of reproduction in his exhibition now. I state that on the label, it's not a secret. I just, as a curator, I don't like to do reproduction. I always want everything to be, the original if possible. But if a piece is just too fragile, we would do that.
Yeah. Now it's my chance to ask. I don't know, I see cheap clay. I don't know what it is, what the process is, or why it's good.
I'm probably not the best person to ask. It's a high quality form of printing. It's like a photograph, but it's just super high quality, and we do it on great illustration paper, and it looks very, very similar to an original.
But what is the word G-clay?
G-clay is a French word, Giclee, I think with an accent aigu. But I think we better Google that. I think you'll get a better answer than I could tell you. It is. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
On behalf of the Amherst Women's Club, we'd like to present.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
we'd love to invite everyone, including you, to join us for tea, a real tea. So we ended up with,
Yeah, no.
we ended up with 11. Everybody's over here.